Okay, we're live again. We're live again. We're going to be doing from Chief Architect to Twinmotion this time. So let's check this out. First of all, let me turn off notifications if I can there. There we go. And you're going to be opening up a kitchen project you may have seen in a previous feed. I can remember the name of that kitchen project. Be good. I believe we're in project number 2 here. There we go. Going to take a second just to repost this feed to another location off on my side screen here. So you might be skipping the first couple of minutes of this. Oh, actually, this is the wrong file. We'll have to work on this. Figure out how to do all these reposting. If you're a Facebook streamer, you're familiar with the platform, know how to do this, please let me know because it's a strong learning curve. Anyways, we've got some new features in the mic. Should be cutting out some of the background noise, but we might be picking up some pops as well. We'll see how that works. And then I'm in the comments. I've got the comments window open, so if you would like to comment on the live feed, I will be responding to those. We had some good interaction yesterday on the live feed, so that was awesome. That was fun to interact with you guys as you're chiming in, tuning in. So let's see. I think I'm in project number 3 for streaming. Here we go. So we're going to be taking this kitchen and bringing it into Twinmotion. Now there's not a whole lot that I'm going to be doing in this shot. Show you, a simple thing. There's a bunch of cameras in here because we're trying to figure out how to create a stereoscopic VR image. This is the kitchen we're going to be working on right here. And this is hosted on a website called Kula, which I have a professional subscription to, which shows me, what this looks like in VR. But also, if you were to put on a pair of Oculus headsets, this website knows to change to stereoscopic VR mode, which means that we have a left and right side view, which means left eye, right eye, which gives you a sense of depth. So like the edge of this counter all of a sudden looks really real in VR versus this looks very two-dimensional. When you have your Oculus on, it looks very real, but it's only in 2 directions. As soon as we go in this direction, all of a sudden perspective is skewed. And we can have a talk about that later, but I don't have access to any stereoscopic VR application yet for rendering. So hopefully that comes in the next iteration of Thea, and maybe even Chief Architect will pick up on that. So I'm going to open up a camera. Actually, before I do, I see some goofiness in the molding down here. Well, yeah, let's open up a camera and see what's going on. Part of taking Chief Architect to Twinmotion is making sure that your model is prepped. And maybe it's a good idea to show what happens when we export a model, but then we've got a model change that we need to implement and then re-import into Twinmotion. Because Twinmotion's coordinate based, we can, take the coordinates in Chief, bring them into Twinmotion, so things will remain in the same location when we bring them in, which is an awesome thing to note because that makes it so that we can make little edits in our Chief model if we need to, if we run into some errors in Twinmotion, and then re-import back into Twinmotion. So yeah, there's a little goofiness in the baseboard here. I'm not sure if it's worth fixing this. This is one of those things where ultimately I make decisions about what's faster. Do I fix this in Chief if all I'm doing in this particular case is rendering? Do I just fix this in Chief? Or do I take this into SketchUp and then just delete something that I don't like the setup on? So it's a good question. The way this feed is going to change drastically if I don't get my 3D mouse to function correctly, which it's not right now. So let's see if I can get this going. There we go. All right, so here we are. This is the project we're going to be taking into Twinmotion. Other than that little snafu with the baseboard, this looks like it's ready to go. And I'm not going to fix this. We can fix this maybe on another feed, maybe at another time, and show you how to re-import into Chief. So from here, since I've got a 3D view open, you'll see that my export all of a sudden has the option to do a DAE model or a 3DS model. Now I prefer the 3DS model. I get a lot more, I get more consistent results with the 3DS, but the DAE has no vertex limit. So if we've got a symbol in this plan that has too many vertices, we're going to run into a problem in 3DS. And there's ways to address that. We'll show you a couple different ways to work with that. So I'm going to get into the same project here. Actually, we're in project 3, and I'm going to make a new folder. Oh, we've already got a 3DS export. Look at that. I must have done it at some point. Let's just replace this. Yeah, we're going to replace that. And depending on the size of the model, your computer might hang up just for a little bit to figure out how long it's going to take to export here. Unable to copy. This is telling me that we've got a missing texture, which if we were doing a DAE export, that would be a problem. The next thing is gray stack 1. I don't know what this is referring to. So some kind of geometry is too great. It's like we've got a couple of these errors. So we're going to be missing some things when we bring this into Twinmotion. Okay, so now the export is finished. I can go ahead and close this out if I want to. Just keep my resources tight since I'm streaming, and then we'll bring up Twinmotion. And Twinmotion takes a little bit to load as well. The reason Twinmotion takes a while to load is I don't think they've come up with a cache way of loading your library. And because I have a huge Twinmotion library, it takes a while to load. In a fresh Twinmotion load, it's pretty quick versus this. Mine takes a couple minutes to load. So I do have what's called a symbolic link set up for my Twinmotion library, and that's so that I can have the same location on multiple machines for one library. And that's kind of clever. It just makes it so whatever machine I'm on, I can load up Twinmotion and have all those same files and no overriding issues or anything like that. So here we go. Here's the Twinmotion interface. If you're unfamiliar, I do have a tutorial series on Twinmotion. So I'm going to assume that you've seen that already and you're actually pretty good at Twinmotion. Who knows? So if you're chiming in for the first time and you've never used Twinmotion, you're going to get lost in this, this post, but maybe not. I'll talk it through. Okay, so, and the reason I'm doing this, by the way, is this is an example to a potential new ongoing customer for my rendering services. So I want to make sure that they know what various services are available to them. This is a nice thing to do. It takes me not that much time to set this up, and then they can have a better idea of the various services that I offer. Just explaining what this cloud is. Well, I need some inventory first, and because this is a new feature, I don't have a ton of inventory for the Twinmotion cloud yet. And also because a lot of my Twinmotion projects are massive, massive projects, and they don't host over a certain size on the cloud. So small projects like this kitchen, that's no problem hosting this on the cloud. So it's a good time to pump up my inventory, show my client my various offerings, and then I have a catalog. So at some point, I've got to go through and take this back into the Adobe suite, take this into Adobe InDesign, and create a catalog that makes sense so that my clients can just look through this stuff. Okay, we've got a long import here again. Let's see if I can repost this feed. Let's see here. What do we do here? I'm off on our side screen. We're just going to try to repost this to a particular place. Edit video. Copy link. There we go. Copy link. There we go. Here's our model coming in on Twinmotion. Oh, long processing time. What do we got going on here? Just set up multiple projects so I could do this all at once, huh? Sometimes Twinmotion just hangs too. I don't know what's taking so long. Should be a simple project it's bringing in. Hmm. Well, if you're joining the feed, apologies. We're sitting here waiting to see if Twinmotion is actually going to do something with this file before I force it to shut down. And twiddling my thumbs. Okay, that's excessive. That was a small project. I don't know what's taking so long. Take a look at the file itself. Sure we won't see anything that was weird. Okay, go. Clearly, this was just built to show the kitchen and the kitchen only. Can't imagine it actually looks like that. But who knows? I've been wrong before. Okay. Here we are in the kitchen, and man, does that not look like what it looks like in Chief, right? That does not look good, but we'll get there. We'll make this start looking pretty good after a while. Let's just start with some basic material replacements. So a lot of stuff does not come through from the Chief side of things, and unfortunately, we just have to work through this stuff. So in my user library, I have something called color coding, and this is just drag and drop stuff for me. I get to drag and drop some various things here that I have just to set up the scene. I've got specific wall textures that I like to bring in, and even though that's the wrong color, it's still going to work the way I want it to once I adjust that color. So um, we'll bring this back down to the white range, and then you can see it's got a little bit of blue tinting to it. That's because the metalness map is on, and I might want to either add a metal map um, or kill that metal channel altogether. Sometimes it's nice to add a metal map because not brushed. Let's see. What do we want? I want like a metal flake. There we go. And I want something with not a lot of contrast. So once I bring this metal map in, it's going to kill a lot of that metal channel, but we're still going to keep some kind of like PBR gloss going on, right? So in my settings, I'm going to bring this reflection up just to the point where it's kind of picking up some light there, a little bit of gloss. There we go. I see it right over here. Maybe you can't see it in the feed, but anyways, that white's starting to look a little bit better. I'm going to bring the tint up a little bit and bring this towards our yellows there. There we go. That's starting to look like what it looked like in the other rendering. So I might just paint this wall as well. Why not? I know that's what the original model kind of looked like. So here we go. We've got a countertop material we might need to work with. One thing I did not prep was I didn't prep the our top moldings versus our cabinets or baseboards or our window trim. That can be problematic at times if you really want to set those apart in terms of materials. So here's my white trim. I want to bring that in here. I want to make sure the reflection's way up on that white trim. There we go. We can see that reflection. And Twinmotion's got kind of a basic PBR, but this looks a lot better than what else I have available to me in a 3D cloud presenter. So when we present this in the cloud, your end user can actually go through and walk around. So it's nice to come in and put in the work on these things. Let's take a look at this material. Let's start making this look a little bit more realistic. It's just going to be basic oak plank 5-inch. I want to see what this material is. 3ds oak. Okay, so it's a truncated name. That was part of the naming convention options when we exported in 3ds. I should have left those at full length so that I could tell what that texture was so that I can find the associated maps with that texture. Now let's take a look in our project stream live and see in our 3ds our extracted textures, what happens here. And you can see here there's nothing there that's even useful. Let's take a look here. We're going to find that. Here we go. So we do in fact have our height map here. Grab that. And actually this is looking for a normal map, which is different from a height map. So something we can do, we could either generate a normal map, which would be a trick thing to do. Let's do that first. Actually, before I do that, let me just show you another trick. It's nice to just have in your materials store just a generic normals purple. And all that's going to do is fill this normals section, and then we can go in and get a separate normal map from that height map that we showed here. And this is going to be a black-white channel height map. So it's going to take that normals map and mix it with this height. Let's see, I'm in Project Stream, Project Live 3, 3DS. There we go. And right here. Now, let's pump up our bump. And it's going to be a very subtle difference until we turn on some reflection. And also, we need to get some additional lights in here. So that was a way of getting a bump map in here. You can, I mean, you might not even be able to see it on your screen, but there is some height happening here. Another thing we can do is just generate a normal map from that image. And I'm going to show you a resource that I use all the time, which is, since Adobe has stopped supporting creating normal maps in Photoshop, it's nice to come in here and get an online normal map generator. So all I need to do is navigate to that folder again. This is our Project 3 in 3DS. Here is where I'm at. I need to organize where all these materials files are, but let's just grab this guy, and we're going to drag and drop. And look at this. Automatically generates a normal map. Isn't that clever? We can even do some edit. I mean, we could see this over here. That, right? Cool. Now, I'm even going to add in the original diffuse color. Look at that. Look at what the normal happens then, right? Isn't that funny? So, first of all, here's our heart map. Drag that back in. And then kind of shows our wrapping. Let's see. And then let's see, what do I want here? We can even load in a separate object. So I can even have my like logoed cube in here. Isn't that funny? And then we can adjust our height, our level, our bevels, blur or sharp. Maybe I want a high level on this. Maybe I want it very sharp. I think I do want it sharp actually. And I might even increase the strength. Who knows? So now I can download this. And whatever you name here is going to be what your download ends up being as a name. So if you're processing a lot of these, you can get through them pretty quick that way. Project Live Stream, Project 3, here's our 3DS. Let's just make a materials folder. And while we're at it, let's just, I can organize this folder by type, which is nice. We can also use connector to view all this, which is also super, super nice. In fact, let's show that. If you're unfamiliar with connector, this is an awesome little utility here. So in connector, here we go. Pump this up. I'm going to add a folder. I'm going to add my project folder that we're working on right now. Project Stream Live, Project 3. Here we go. And what that's going to show me is if I show files in subfolders, close this dialog out, now I can filter just by images. And I can see all these images in one place. Then I can drag and drop to wherever I need to. Kind of clever. So in particular, in this, let's actually make it so that we're not showing files in subfolders. And now we can see all these images, right? And we can select all these and hit my Windows key, bring it over to this, and then drag it in here. Super quick way of moving all those materials from 2 levels down, right? Super fast way. So same thing. Now we can go to the 3ds folder, and we've got all these images again. And there we go. Super quick way for bringing this all into one location. Yeah, why not replace the files? Not too worried about it. There we go. Looks like we have a few stragglers here, but you know what? Again, not worried about it. So this is Connector. If you're unfamiliar, just such an awesome, awesome program. If we click back to this 3ds level and we filter by models, we're going to see here's that Henry 3ds. And after a while, this will parse information from this and actually show us a preview of the 3D, believe it or not. So pretty clever. All right, so in materials, we want our, what are we looking for? We're looking for that one named thing here. And this doesn't look like it's updated. Let's take a look. Oh, these are all PNGs, so let's go all files. Here you go. I want that, and then normal. Okay. And actually, let me hit cancel. I don't want a PNG. I want a JPEG. There we go. Do that. That's a little better. Project Stream, Project 3, 3DS, Materials. And actually, do we even want that to be our location for materials? I think we'll just put it down a level. Okay. Now we're talking organized chaos here. Normal. Okay, now we're back in Twinmotion. Let's grab the correct one here. I did that stupid error I always do, which is I didn't copy the file pathing. So I could have just pasted it here, and that would have been easy. In fact, let's back up and show you that. So downloaded that image, right? And it went into my materials folder, and it was the normal. Right? It was one of these normals. Oh, here we go. This guy right here. So close search. All I needed to do was copy this directory. And I could have even copied file location itself, right? And we could have done that right off the bat. So see, there's a way to get the full file pathing, but I'm not sure. All right, so let me close this down. All I would have needed to do then is paste if I had had the full file path, which I had access to for a second there. Anyways, we're gonna paste that here. There's our materials. Now we can locate that new normal map. And didn't give us much difference here, but we're going to start seeing a difference in this floor once we start putting some lights in the scene. So let's do that. Let's get a light set up in here. So I've got a section for lighting. This is lighting I've already saved. It's been a while since I've been in here. Emitters, there we go. I think I like this guy. Yeah, I do. And I can just kind of drag and drop. When I'm doing work in Twinmotion, I usually like to organize my folders, especially if I've got very large projects, because then I'll turn off certain sections of a project. that we're not seeing it over and over again. Not seeing it in 3D, your computer's not processing that. Simple drag and drop, that works well. We've even got some omnidirectional lights that we can pop in kind of here. Might do 2 or 3 to create different shadows on that ceiling, right? Then we're getting, something a little bit more true to that fixture. Tone it from there. Put some filters in our final. That certainly makes for some interesting shadows on the wall. Might even drop one down. Go this one on, pin this to the very bottom here. Same thing, pin that to the bottom. Now we're getting some light against this countertop. Let's tweak on this countertop a little bit. We'll get some gloss in here. Crank this reflection up, and we're going to add a map to this reflection because I want to see a little bit of grain in it, if you will. Even though true Calcutta doesn't show a lot, we're going to show a little bit here. This particular one, I think we created second Calcutta for this. Change our preview size. Okay. Calcutta 2, that's what this is. So here is our bump and roughness, or the one and the same. There we go. Now, as we roll around here, there should just be a little variation in this, just a little bit of graining. Yeah, some dispersion. I can see it here in this bottom corner. It's very slight, but every little detail counts for this stuff. Let's finish up this too. I kind of walked away from this, but ultimately, we want to affect that floor so that we get a little bit of that gloss. There we go. That's starting to look like something. Now we're starting to get somewhere. All right. I also want to tone down the bump on this wall texture. Or maybe let's bring it up so that we can see it. And let's change the scale. Scale it down just a little bit. And then bring that bump back down. Barely want to see it. And in fact, it's a little too yellow. This. You know your color codes. You can just drop them in there. That makes it super easy, especially if you're just pulling stuff from, say, a Photoshop. These stools are different textures. Every one of these is a different texture, so kind of play with them a little bit. I'm just going to bring that roughness up on them. That reflection, I should say. These guys are metal. I've got some metal I could drag and drop, or we could simply go turn on metalness and pull that reflection up. Start seeing it. And let's change this. Let's clear this. We don't need to see an actual texture there. And then we have control over the color. Something a little bit more dynamic here. Now we're starting to see some reaction in that reflection, right? That looks good. Cabinets, what do we want to do with cabinets? Just slight reflection probably, not too much. We might actually want to put some kind of a wood grain in the reflection, so let's check that out. Let's go look for wood grain material here in my catalog of materials. Wood, bump normals, something high contrast or low contrast. Let's try high contrast first and just see what that does and see if that makes any effect. And we can bring it up. Very subtle effect. You can probably not even see it in your preview. Facebook compresses our image so you don't see what I see. I see very, very subtle wood grain. Crank that up just a little bit more, see if I can see it even more. Okay. And I'm probably going to increase my scale so we can see that. There we go. Now you're probably starting to see it. A little too heavy now. Scale back down. subtle differences there. I probably want to put an Omni light in here just so it's lit. And we're just going to place it on the ground. And then move it up from there. There we go. Now we just have a lit room. Let's mess with our sunlight. Let's get this sunlight to splash in just a little bit. Get into our location settings. Our time of day can move this around. Our month in the year can move this around. Maybe I want a little later time of the day and change our north offset. What can we do here? Is that interesting? That's a lot, isn't it? Kind of crazy. Keep it like that. Interesting light coming in the room. Cool. This is kind of my workflow. I will tell you, I'm not very organized when I'm doing Twinmotion stuff because I'm enjoying myself. I love working in this program. It's like you're playing in a video game. Okay, back to color coding. I do have some stainless steel materials that we can throw onto this guy right here, and maybe we want to throw in a chrome. We can use one of the chromes built into Twinmotion. I don't use a ton of their stuff. I usually have better materials than what they have. So yeah, like that chrome. Ah, man, it's just so it's just so high contrast. There's nothing to it. So maybe in our reflection channel, we want to just throw something to muddy this up a little bit, but not too much. So we need something with high level of black in it. Let's just look in, well, we'll start in metals. Need a dark texture, something like this. What does this do? Now we gotta increase that. Yeah, drop it down just a little bit, something like that. Not great, not great. Workable though. This looks like it's a glass. Appliance smooth. See if we change it to a glass, what happens? Interesting. So there must be a material behind this that's just reflecting back, right? Yeah. I mean, we could change it here and then bring the color up. Doesn't really do what I want it to do. Might just leave it. Let's see, what else picked up that appliance? There we go, nothing there. Someone's messaging me on Messenger, but you guys want to comment in the chat window here? Happy to respond back. Okay. Just taking a second on to someone, but there we go. All right. Comment section of this video actually gets overlaid in the video and I see it, so. That room's not interesting. There's not a whole lot to this particular render, honestly. Actually, it already looks pretty good. Let's take a look at this back here. We can put some glass textures in here. I like to use item glass for this kind of stuff typically, but you can see here, these bottles are very simple models. So there's some smoothing going on in Chief when you get these bottles. So Twinmotion doesn't have that same smoothing. So let's just play with our opacity a little bit here, because this is just a PBR render. Twinmotion will actually do, let's just check this out. We'll do a little ray trace real quick. Twinmotion does ray tracing now. Isn't that cool? We can change our sample rate. Let's just go to a low sample rate. And then once the sample's done, it does a denoiser, which is awesome. Chief doesn't have a denoiser. They don't use Intel's optics denoiser. I don't think. They might, but it's not in any of the documentation. So this automatically denoises the shot. Then you have a pretty decent ray trace. Pretty good, right? You still have to have, an RTX card, but. So now we're back to PBR. Okay. Probably a metal texture back here would be good. Some kind of dark metal texture. Back in my user library. Do this metal texture. Yeah, that's starting to look like something. I have different wood textures. Let's take a look there. Let's go. Let's actually get into my materials catalog. My Twinmotion materials catalog is lacking, unfortunately. I have not created enough of these, but check it out here. There you go. That looks really sharp, like that. Yeah, very cool. And the awesome part about Twinmotion is we can come in here and change our material mode to apply to object only. And then we can get into something like their stock materials. Maybe they have artwork here. I don't think they do. Videos, neons, modeling, but I have artwork. So in my Twinmotion materials artwork, oh, you know what? It's seeing this as one object. Dang it. And that's something I could have prepped on my side to fix this. So unfortunately, I can't just replace label by label. If I'd done a little bit more work before the import, we could do that. So it's a good reason to re-import if we needed to. These guys are supposed to be a metal texture. Yeah, cool. See all the faceted angles that come in that by default Chief is smoothing. Pretty crazy. Metal is my little cheat code because just playing with a roughness on metal in PBR can make for some pretty dynamic looking materials. And white's always the challenge. You turn metal on a white thing, and all of a sudden it turns gray, right? And we can increase this reflection and everything, but ultimately that still looks gray until you put in a map on your metalness channel or your roughness channel. You can play with both. So again, I like to use metal flake. So it's just a bunch of little miniature dots and then play with my scale settings to get it to exactly where I want it. Pretty good. Bump some reflection up, just a little bit of reflection in some of this stuff. Sometimes you can't even tell that you're doing it. These atoms right here, using that mid reflection. Right. I think I'm gonna leave a light off in here. I kind of like the way that looks. We could certainly do something with our rug. I've got some great rug height maps now. Just check this out. So we could just do a height map like this, but I have some new ones. I have some brand new ones in my rugs. Let's see. Bump and normals maps. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? And then we can change that. Bump up a little bit. There we go. Now from a distance, that very much looks like a rug, right? Cool. All right, what else do we have? But there's nothing in here to look at. I wonder if this is the pantry. I actually don't know. So I was hired just to do this shot. That was all I needed to do. Really quick, easy job just to do this shot. This rendering's on my channel somewhere, but anyways, it's fun to come in here and show them what can happen just in 3D and everything. And this is easy to update too. I'm gonna change my field of view. I don't know, like a 55 or something. Now we're working in like composition, right? Now we can get some of these really great photo shots here. Then if we kick on our ray trace, that sharp Boy, if I look at my live, it looks like I'm just frozen. Still frozen? Oh, okay, we're not frozen. Cool. Anyone in here? Yay. See, if you type in the chat window, that should show up on the screen here pretty soon. All right, so kick this ray trace back off. What else do we need? Not much. This was it. I mean, this looks pretty good. I do have some siding material to kind of pump this up. I mean, I can go through and tweak this out till it looks perfect, but you don't really need it. I might add some decor. I have some additional decor from Twinmotion that I didn't have in Chief, so we could do something with that. Let's go, where's my siding materials here? I'm gonna have that same material, but it's a little different. I've got a couple different options here. I need to scale them. A little rough, but yeah, something like that. Oh, funny. Made the mistake. Do this. Yeah, these are different UV maps, so now they'll scale differently. I don't need to fix that though, because no one's ever gonna look. Look at this. Oh, funny. Should paint this siding. Also got a roofing material that's pretty good. Spent a lot of time making realistic roofing. Man, is it challenging, tell you what. And you gotta go through, every job is a little different. You gotta go through and mess with the height map just a little bit. There we go. We can make a cool environment out here, make a whole scene. Let's just drop in some trees and stuff. That would be cool. Bring in a rocky grassland. How about that? And now we're going to create some rocky terrain in the background. And we can change our city backdrop if we wanted to. Get rid of our ground plane, right? So there's our grassland terrain. And you can see our project is lifted right now. If you do your own Datasmith created terrain, like actually let's try this. I'm gonna import from another source here. Let's see, another project. Go up a couple levels. Work for a company called Crystal Creek, and they just do some really awesome stuff. But something that's nice is I have all these height maps. And so what'll happen is I'm going to redo the terrain based on that height map. Look at that. And now that once I've done that, this is the actual terrain of the site that we were building on, centered on the house. So this was where the house was developed. Now I can bring this terrain up to my project. So for that particular builder, I always recreate their terrain in likeness. So we actually bring in their terrain and then I study the landscape and I recreate trees and elements in the landscape to match their environment. Pretty cool. Let's go 100. Why not? What does that do? Too much. Way too much. 25. Too much? There we go. About right. Hey, what's up, Teresa? How's it going? I see you, I see you. All right, so let me change the speed at which I'm using my 3D mouse. There we go. Now I can really navigate around. I'm gonna hit my number 6 key, and I want to move this terrain to a place that's a little bit more flat. And then I can sculpt this terrain. And I also like to bring in my terrain textures because they look better as well. I'm oftentimes working in, this particular developer is in Arizona, so the terrain that I've created a lot of times is for Arizona-based terrain. desert land. So I'm going to flatten this section right here. I'm going to flatten it for a while. I'm pretty used to terrain tools in this software, so I'll usually flatten more than I need to flatten, and then kind of do a slope back from there, so we can use this slope tool here. Right. And now let's get like a spattering of trees. Let's also change our terrain paint. It takes a second to load in. Now, when you click on paint terrain, it brings you into Twinmotion's catalogs, but you can back out and go to your own catalogs. And in here, I've got landscaping, and I might drop in, oh, let's see, maybe something like that. And that looks pretty cool, right? And then I can actually paint in grass if I wanted to, or create my own grass. Let's change the diameter here. Maybe I want just grass right here. I don't know. Change the scale of that too. Something like that. We can actually do the 3D grass built into Twinmotion, but first let's just get into some of our vegetation tools here. So I can drop in a couple different trees and just paint these around. I can change these after the fact, so I'm not too worried about which ones I'm grabbing right now, and just really just kind of sampling the environment to see what it all looks like, right? So change the diameter here and start kind of painting some of the stuff in. Make sure not to hit your geometry on the house, because that's when we get some challenges. Now I can narrow this down, get flattering here. And then I actually have something in my paint terrain, by the way, that helps me. Oops, let's get back and go back out a couple levels. Adjacent landscapes. Let me just select this paint terrain. I'm going to go back out again, and then in my user library somewhere, I didn't see it actually, but let's take a look. In landscaping, yeah, shoot, it has disappeared. I had a custom texture for painting these hillsides to look like trees, so that you didn't actually have to use the geometry. It's kind of clever. So anyways, let's get back into the house and see what this all looks like. I gotta change my speed here, speed of the camera. Boy, doesn't that look a little bit more convincing? Look at the background. We still have the city in the background. And I also want to just take a look at some visual effects for what happens when we add some filters in here. Does it change the mood at all? That's cool. I kind of like that. Bringing a red tint into our highlights level. Oof, that's ugly. Oh, Beauty 1 kind of gives some, kind of dynamic contrast to our all white cabinetries. Let's try Cine. No. Those are very plain. There's high contrast. Ooh, that's rough. Midday. Midday looks okay. Fujifilm, maybe? No. Hip 2. Any of these screaming to us yet? Not really. But yeah, it's nice to put filters on the fly, especially when you have these just all white scenes, right? When did I like here? I liked one of these. I don't want it to be too washed out though. I want that contrast up. Too drama. I think I like midday. Kind of like that. Okay. Stick with that for now. Exterior looks cool. We can kind of see some stuff in the exterior. Want to make sure that our, see, it's not in urban. I want to go to location, background. There we go. I do not want the city. I want countryside or mountains. There we are. Change that city in the background. I've been pumping a ton of media lately, so I'm getting notifications everywhere. But if you want to talk to me right now, come in the chat like Teresa just did. Love that people are coming in here and checking this out. What do you think this is? You think this is a dining area? Probably. Just throw some stuff in here. What do I have? Nothing in dining assemblies. Nothing in tables. Uh-oh. I'm missing stuff. That's not good news. Oh no. What's happening here? We're missing all kinds of things. Let's go see what happened. Apparently all my stuff disappeared. So, OneDrive, Twinmotion, libraries, use your library, Twinmotion models, living room, assemblies, empty. Check that out. Interesting. Well, this is good troubleshooting. If you have your stuff in the cloud, it just disappears. Gotta go find out what happened to it. Why is this folder empty, guys? Oh, someone has access to this, and they got rid of it. That's not good. So, I need to find out how to bring this back. That's fine. Do that at a later time. It's probably hogging a bunch of resources for them, so. Okay, so I have no assets. But I think this is good. I think we'll present this on Twinmotion, and then I'm going to share the link on this feed, and you guys can see where this is hosted and check it out for yourself. Okay, so let's see if I remember how to do this. Sign in, first of all. Sign in super quick. I love that process. And then our workflow here. I've done this plenty of times before, but it's been a while since I've been here. Open Twinmotion Cloud. I don't want to open it. I want to export it too. So maybe in our, here we go. Cloud early access. Presentation, panorama. I think we're just going to do, we have to create a new presentation? No, we don't. I've just hosted this before. It might need to just have a, create an image just to start. Or here. I don't have to look this up. Funny. It's been a while. Source collector, no. No. Huh. And the feed, because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Let me just save this as first. Okay, we save that. Now, I'm going to have to look at this up. I don't think I've ever had to create a presentation to export to Twinmotion Cloud. Export Twinmotion Cloud. Our panorama is set to Twinmotion Cloud. Option to select the content. So it seems that they've changed this service because I've not needed to do this before. It's usually just a walkthrough. So let's just start a presentation then. Create here, click. Okay, creating our presentation. Presentation 1, that's it. And we're not even going to do a click-through path. I'm not worried about it. So now, click here to add media. Do I'd rather just export a panorama. Apparently we don't get to export the full model anymore. It used to be able to. So maybe we'll just do an image instead. So we can do a panoramic image, create pano. And now that we have the pano, I'm set. This is all new. I have to learn this now. I don't know what's going on. All this stuff changed. If we go through, let's just open up Twinmotion Cloud and we'll take a look at what this looks like. Yeah, so we've got some, other Twinmotion Cloud presenters that I did here. Do this. And that'll load up. Meanwhile, see who I can respond to here. I think I want to change my page to not be anonymous because I can't see who's watching and when. Nice to be able to see who's here and say hello. Okay, back in the Twinmotion Cloud. There are other export to. Push to cloud. There it is. That's the panel I was looking. Oh, aha! I know where it is. There we go. Needed to turn this guy on right here and see our top bar. Show navigation bar. Push to cloud. Boom. Ah. See, now we're generating the data and it's going to open that in the cloud. And here we can see what it looks like to the client side, right? Ooh, that bump map was bad on this one. So now the client can come in here and move around. This is on the cloud right now. We're not in Twinmotion. This is just on the website. So they've got a link to this. Oh, look at that. I built in some custom stuff. Took a little extra time, but built that in. Maybe I should show this to the client instead. Right? Because it's kind of cool to see those doors opening. Let's close our navigation menu here. Look at that. Our Lazy Susan popping up. Our garbage popping up. Isn't that cool? Animated some of the stuff that's built into Chief. This is a good one. Good example. A little bit of a headache juddering around here, but sure, why not? So this is transferring out, and that's it. That's the whole process. Pretty quick and easy when you finally know what you're doing. They hid that push to cloud section there, and boy, I was starting to sweat. Anyways, I'm going to be logging off. I'll go ahead and post a link to some of this stuff for the cloud presenter, and you guys can take a look. I got to jump back into another session where I'm just working in Chief, entirely in Chief. So come on to my feed. If you're coming into my feed, make some requests. What would you like to see? I've got so many things going on right now. I've got plenty to work on. Also, always taking on more work, so just let me know. And yeah, come in, hang out, ask questions. Not a lot of questions yet. That was great. Thanks. Thank you, Teresa. Thanks for chiming in. All right, take care. See if I can figure out how to end this thing.